friends, welcome back to So Practical. Today I am going to start the tutorial on Charisma Horton's Confetti Cake pattern. This is such a cute quilt pattern. I love it. Black and white with the little spirals of color. This pattern is available for purchase on her website at charismascorner.com. So I will be showing you how to sew this together, but I will not be going through measurements with you. If you want the pattern, you have to go purchase it off of her website. So pull a chair up to my sewing machine and let's get started. All of Charisma's patterns are super easy to follow. You can, if you print them out, you can print them in color, you can print them out black and white, but everything is super easy to follow. She's got everything pretty easy to explain. If you don't have a banana splits ruler, she does have it printed on a page for you as well, but you should get the ruler. But everything is laid out for you. Super easy to follow directions. She has a bunch of fantastic patterns. Oops, upside down. But this one again is Confetti Cake. Alright, so the first thing you need to do is cut out all your pieces, and we are going to take, you're going to use a jelly roll, or you can cut it into strips. And I used solids, but you can use whatever you like. So the first thing you're going to do is sew your strips together. The two strips. Alright, so you're going to have several sets where you've got these sewn together in couples, and she tells you exactly how many to do. Alright, so after she tells you how many strips you need, then you need to cut them into sections, and she gives you the exact measurement for that as well. I'm going to cut the end off. And then you end up with a certain amount of sections, and she lets you know exactly how many you need for that, or how many you will need for these. Of course, during the cutting instructions, she has you cut out so many white squares and so many black squares. Using the banana splits ruler, you'll make your cut. Just be consistent on which side you use, A or B. You will then sew half square triangles using the squares that she has you cut, and also your two fabric, I don't even know what to call it, your two fabric triangle that she has you cut. Okay, so you've got your square. You're just going to cut corner to corner. And now we're going to take this to the sewing machine and we are going to sew. My advice for pressing is to press open. It'll make it a lot easier, because we're going to be putting a lot of little pieces together. Okay, and then she tells you exactly how big these need to be. It's a little small, because of course we've got our dog ears. You can snip them with a scissor or your rotary. Sometimes they get a little wonky. I try to just square them up a little bit. But she gives you the pattern size, and then you're going to end up with black and white, and you'll have stacks of them. And by the way, these are my new I guess you could call them like square ups. Comes in a pack, 3.5 or 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5. These are black with anti-grip on the bottom, so when you put your square down, you barely, I don't have my blade on, you barely have to hold on to it, and it doesn't move at all. Your fabric will stay right under it. Okay, after you have, now that we've got our stacks done, we're going to work on the white stack, and according to her decorations, the wide part's going to go on the outside, and we're going to make basically a windmill. Try not to get the same colors in the same spot here. No more sewing at night for me, that's for sure. I can't say anything correctly, and I can't stop laughing while I'm sitting here editing. Okay, so here we are, and that will make our colored windmill. We're going to do this with both the white stack and the black stack that I just did. So I'm going to sew these two together, just chain piecing. When putting them together, make sure that the tiny triangles of the color in the tip of the triangle are all together in the middle. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a couple wonky pinwheels like I did. Learn from my mistakes. At least I know when I pin that it's that side that I'm sewing on. Okay, 1/4 inch down both sides. So I'm just going to move my entire stack over here. Take my shoes off, I can't sew with them on. Okay, once they're sewed together, give them a good pressing, and I have cut them down to size. And this is what I mean. She's got it written in her directions to make sure these are all in the middle, and I just for some reason plowed through and didn't notice until I realized it halfway through. And then I did a couple of them instead of going the correct way, backward, like spinning the other way, which is fine. And then I have my mistake pieces, of course. But I think they'll still be fine. But look how cute they are when they're done correctly with all the little, so it looks like two windmills, a little one in the middle and then a big one on the outside. Super cute. So I'm going to get all the black ones done as well, and then I'll meet you right back here. So she's got a page with placement, and I don't have enough room in my sewing room, so I'm going to do this on my dining room table. Okay, so she starts out with a black one, pinwheel. Okay, so I have to run to the fabric store because I don't have a backing for this quilt. And I have started sewing a border. So that's the first row. Second row starts out with a black and white. And a black pinwheel. This really comes together fast. I know I've already said that, but it is the truth. Okay, so here is half of the quilt laid out. The other half of the quilt blocks are over there on the chair. My table's not big enough, and it's a big table, but nonetheless, not quite big enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sew these rows together so half the quilt will be done. I've marked on the pattern where I left off with this row. So then I will build the other half of the quilt blocks, sew those together, and then sew the two halves together. And that's how I'm going to do it because I'm dealing with small space here. I have got them sewed in pairs, if you can see. I just wanted to be able to chain piece, so I sewed everything in pairs right down the line there. And now I just need to sew all the pairs together. I just finger press them right now. The top row going to the right, the next row going to the left, and so on. So that's what I have so far. It's late, so I am going to leave these here till the morning, and then I'm going to re-look at the pattern, make sure everything's placed correctly, and then I'm going to sew all these pairs together, all these rows. So I'm basically sewing them vertically because I'm just chain piecing. I have just been chain piecing, so I've sewed pairs down this way, down straight. I just sewed the pairs, and then I sewed the pairs together. Now there are two sets of 4 pairs. Sorry, 2 sets of 2 pairs making 4. So basically all these are sewed together, all those are sewed together, and I just did it this way so I could chain piece it, and now I can connect the rows. And that's right down the middle here is the only seam I need to make to sew the rest of this together in rows, and then sew the rows together. And then I will work on the second half. So doing it this way was kind of easy because it kept it in order. This is my dining room table, and I have to keep walking back to my sewing room. I guess I could have used my sewing machine out here, but I haven't sewed on that one yet, and it's an old Singer. So I am going to run to the store. Funny thing is, keeping it in order like this is much easier, and then you can sew little bits together while you're still running errands and cleaning your house. It makes it a heck of a lot easier. So that is what I have so far. As soon as I get these sewed together, again, I'm going to connect the 2 sets of 4 down the middle so that it's the perfect row. And then I'm going to sew all the rows together, and then when that half is done I will move that off the table and I will lay out the second half. Okay, I have now sewed that middle seam, and they are all attached. I chain pieced them and just left them all attached so that they would be in order when I came and laid all the rows out. I am now going to sew all the rows together, and then the first half of the quilt will be done, and I'll start the second half. Alright, first half is completely sewed together. I really need to take a lint roller to it. I've got threads everywhere. So I'm going to press it and do that and then I'm going to lay out the other half and get them all, the rest of them sewed together. But you can already see the pattern, the diamond shaped pattern that it's made in this first half with the windmills. I love it. I can't wait to get the rest done. Oh, I'll show you the backing. Okay, I did have to go to the store to get backing fabric, and this is what I'm going to put on the back. Now, Charisma has come out with a 108 backing fabric that is gorgeous, and I would love to have it, but it doesn't hit the shelves until December. So this is what I'm going with for this one. So I'm going to continue on. I'll bring you back for updates while I'm continuing this. But I probably won't show sandwiching it and quilting it. This video is mainly about piecing the quilt top with using the confetti cake pattern. I just want to say that this is pretty quick to go together with only 3 blocks in the whole quilt. And you just kind of repeat making those 3 blocks. They're all very simple. This is very beginner friendly. Only thing you have to watch out for, and I'm experiencing it in this quilt top, is the bias and the stretching. I ended up using this black fabric. I got it from Walmart because it was inexpensive, which is usually a big no-no anyway when you are quilting. But needless to say, I went with a cheap black one and a cheap white one, and I experienced a lot of stretching. So I feel like all my stuff didn't match up perfectly. It doesn't look bad, and you probably can't really tell when it's all put together, but anyhow, that was my experience. So go with your good quilting fabric. Okay, the second half is laid out. I gotta go find my pins. So how I'm chain piecing is this row here. I am going to flip this to the side. I actually should put pins in there so I know which side it is to sew on. So doing them this way keeps them in order. So now I know I need to sew on this pinned side. Okay, and then I just keep moving these down. This is just in case you've never seen chain piecing before. And then this one here is the bottom. And this will be the very last row in the quilt. So by doing it this way, I'm keeping it completely in order. And now this goes on the very bottom. So top one to the bottom. So I'm going to take this step back to my sewing room. I'm going to sew down the pinned edge with a 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to come back, lay those back out, and then do the same thing with the next one and just keep going down the line, and that's how I do it. I do it in this order so that everything stays completely organized. I don't get it mixed up, and I keep the pattern laying there so when I lay it out I recheck it every time. And then after I've got all those sets done, then that's when I go through and sew the bigger sets together. It's 2, and then it'll be 1 seam. And then I sew the rows And that is how you chain piece. When sewing, this is the top one, so we'll do this first. When you're chain piecing, it's faster because you don't have to cut the thread. Okay, and this has completely stayed in order. So now we can just cut them. That's the top. So we should cut from the bottom. Let's cut from the bottom. The next one, and then the top one. And now they're stayed completely in order. So I'm going to go lay them back out and pin the next set. And of course I keep my pattern handy, so when I'm laying them out I can see exactly where I'm laying out. And this is my top one, and it goes this way. The next one this way. Yes, I still got my chicken salad table runner on my table. I love this thing. Of course, I gotta change it out for red, white, blue here soon. Okay, so I'm gonna do this next one, and then I'm gonna come back and do the rest just like it. So I'll bring you back when it's completely sewed together. Okay, I've got the strips done. The last thing that I need to do is to sew the rows together. And when you do this part, just pay attention to your junctions here. Make sure you pin. The other half I ironed as I went, and it actually, I think, made it harder. So what I'm going to do with this one is just finger press as I go. Making sure that they match up. We are almost done with this entire quilt top. So as soon as I sew these rows together, then we sew the two halves together and we're done. Unless you want to add a border. Okay, completely sewed together. The quilt top is done, other than it really needs to be pressed. So before I will give it a good press before I start sandwiching it together. But otherwise, this is done. I, however, am going to square it up and put some borders on. The pattern does not come with borders, so at this point it is considered done. So cool. If you look at it this way, you can start to see the diamonds form with the pinwheels. I love it. I think it is so pretty. in another video probably. I don't know. We'll see how long it takes me. I'm going to get this sandwich together so I can get the backing on, get the binding on, and then I'll show you the finished product. And again, that is my backing. I tried to pick polka dots. My husband picked that, but I think it'll look good. Comes together super quick and is totally beginner friendly. The only thing I advise is to be careful with the stretch because it's all bias. It's all half square triangles. And I ran into a little bit of stretchy issues myself. And I tried really hard not to stretch it, but you know, it happens. So I'm just going to give it a good press, square it up, and get it sandwiched up so I can quilt it. And I have to say, this was super fun to make. It is one of those that you can, it's, you know, 3 blocks basically, and it's super easy. You can put on some podcasts and zip right through it. You can get this done in a day. It's a day's project. Or you can take your time and do it when you can, which is kind of what I did between everything else, because if you lay it out, it's super easy to keep in order by just chain piecing stacks. But I love it. I think it is so fun. Okay, the confetti cake quilt is completely done. I have put borders on, so it's a little bit wrinkly. I did not iron it when I was done. I used the half square triangles and I just put them together at the bottom of the quilt. And then this border is just extra solid jelly roll strips that I put together and did 2.5-inch cuts. Other than that, I have a 1-inch black border in the middle just to frame it. And then I just realized that there's this black piece that makes it look funky. But so 1-inch border in the middle to frame it, then extra pieces, and then this is a 4-inch border and a 2-inch border. And then the back is black and white check, which Robert went with me to the store to pick out backing, and this is what Robert picked out. I picked out polka dots, and he said, no, you got to go with this. And I hate to say it, but he was right. I love the border. I did the same fabric in the border. I love the way it looks against the black. Super happy about the way it turned out. Now I'm going to get it in the washer because I love a buttery soft quilt fresh out of the dryer. Anyway, friends, if you want this pattern, I will link Charisma's website in the description box below for you if you are interested in making one of your own. Okay, so it's a fairly quick project. The quilt top comes together super fast. You can do that in a weekend. It might take you a little bit longer to put the backing and binding on. I know it did me. I had a lot going on. And I made another quilt in the middle of making this. I always make 2 quilts at once. I don't know why, but I like to go on at once. Keeps me busy, and I get extra stuff done. So I did make a dashing star quilt, which I posted on Instagram and Facebook, so you can find that there. But that one is the Missouri Star quilt pattern. So I did not film that one, just this tutorial. I think this is so cute. I just love this quilt. And now it's time to start on my Christmas quilt. It is July, and then I didn't get my Halloween projects done yet, so after that I will work on those. I got a list taller than me. Anyway, friends, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.